All right, Chris, 21-19 Panthers lose preseason game number 2 to the New York Giants. I don't care about the final result, but 3 things stood out, Chris. 3 things. 1, there was some progress.
Yes, lots.
Rookies looked like rookies.
Yes, they did.
And we scored some points, baby. We scored some points.
You know what? And they all had a chance to win it at the end.
I'm not worried about that as much.
But you know what, though? It builds character situationally, though.
We'll go with that. All right, let's start this sucker.
The state of North Carolina covers 53,000 square miles. It is the habitat of the feared Carolina Panthers. Get dialed in, Panthers fans, for an in-depth look at your team, exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lee.
Welcome back to Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lee, Dennis Cox here with you. Make sure you subscribe, whether you're watching here on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, hit the likes, leave comments as well. Or if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you follow that as well so you don't miss any episode, because the day after games, including the preseason, Chris and I, we're going to have a podcast episode for you.
Absolutely.
All right, Chris, let's dive right into this thing. 21-19 final score. Giants beat the Panthers, preseason game number 2, up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
All right. I want to go right to the starters played 2 drives on offense and defense each for the Carolina Panthers. We're gonna let's go to the offense first. We'll get into the defense a little bit later on because we saw Daniel Jones walk down the field against the Panthers defense. But let's get into the offense and what we saw. We saw progress from game 1 to game
100%.
2. There was progress. Now, I know there was a 3 and out on that first drive. We'll break that down in a little bit. But it was nice to see the offense sustain a long drive. 15 plays took up over 10 minutes. That's against the starting defense, or most of the starting defense for the New York Giants as well. It was nice to see the offense have that. I know it was aided by a roughing the passer call, but that happens in the NFL.
Yes.
They continue to sustain that. It ended in a field goal, could have been a touchdown, but nevertheless, it was nice to see that progress from game 1 to game 2.
It was great to see that. It'll be even greater to see that with your full, starting staff, just to see what that looks like. No Miles Sanders, so we don't know what he will look like in this run game with them, with the Carolina Panthers. And, of course, Austin Corbett's not there, and you're still trying to figure out the pieces on the offensive line until then. But, yes, that's pretty much what I wanted to see. And I know that the calls are still vanilla. They're still not really running a lot of the things that I expected them to run or that I saw them run in practice at training camp, which is fine. You want to make sure that you're taking teams by surprise when the actual regular season starts. But it was great to definitely see that progress. It was great to see them move the pocket for Bryce Young a little bit, let him kind of move around to find those different throwing lanes, to also put a little bit of different pressure on the defense. Still not very excited about what the offensive line is doing. Think they could have looked better than they did, but they definitely looked a lot better than what they did against the Jets, which is what I wanted to see. I don't have a lot of small specific things to really point out. It's more so taking a 10,000, 30,000 foot view of what's going on. And so there's still a few things that I feel like needs to happen. First off, in the notes that I wrote down is, the offense will look better as the season goes along. It feels 100%. As if this is still guys who have just started really playing together just a few weeks ago, right? They're still getting to know each other. They're still understanding each other's tendencies. They're still understanding and trying to get down this playbook and the different things that are possible within the playbook. So you can't necessarily expect this team to look like masters of this happening when they just put on pads 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago, whatever that is. So I'm going to take a little bit more patience with the offense because it feels like they're going to get better as time goes along. And then also there's still going to be an issue with short yardage. I feel like I've been saying this about the Carolina Panthers for like the last 3 seasons, pretty much since probably since CJ. Since Mike Davis was there? Excuse me.
Yeah.
You know, he was probably good short yardage back, and then even before him, there was a few years where the Panthers didn't have a good short yardage situations and short yard options. We have 3 good running backs, so I'm not saying to take them out, but Raheem Blackshear, 5'9", 190.
Yeah,
right?
he's a pass catcher.
Chuba Hubbard, 6'1", 210. Miles Sanders, when he plays, 5'11", 210. Miles Sanders is basically Christian McCaffrey. And, Dennis, you know I've been saying for a while, I hated how the Carolina Panthers used Christian McCaffrey. I mean, different staff, of course. Used Christian McCaffrey almost as like a 3-down back. He could be, but in those short yardage situations, you want to have a bigger bruiser. And there are some people out there who are available who can help you out with that. And so I'm wondering as the season goes along, if they keep the same staff, if they don't, look outside, if the game is on the line and you need this 1 yard to keep the chains moving, or you're going to have to punt it off to the other team and they might be able to walk it down the field on you. Would it be different if you had somebody like a Leonard Fournette, who's 230, whatever pounds, that can get that short yardage situations? Or what if you kept Deontay Foreman?
Yeah, well,
from last year, and he's not with the Chicago Bears right now.
Well, so that's a what if, woulda, coulda, when you think about it. But
it is, but it's an important part of the game, and I'm just not sure that you have the guys with the size to push the pile when you have all these multiple 300-pounders that are trying to push you back.
Maybe plug Frankie Louvu in at running back. Give him the rock. He's fast enough. Hey, the guy's versatile enough. I'm sure he can carry the ball.
Yeah.
So okay. So that's an aspect that we would like to see. Again, that's a personnel decision. That's up to Scott Fitterer,
right,
to come make that decision. So I'm with you on that, though. They do need someone that can pick up those short yardage situations. There are guys out there, but all right, you gave that little 30,000-foot view. I'm gonna lower it down to about 5,000 feet. So a couple things that I saw. We talk about like progress from game 1 to game 2. There is progress from series 1 to series 2 offensively. I saw from the Panthers. So all right, I know it was a 3-and-out. We'll get into some situational stuff here in a second. But the very first run play for Chuba Hubbard got hit in the backfield because Chandler Zavala got beat to the inside. Yes. Got pushed back. I think it was by Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is an all-pro player. I get it. But, hey, Chandler, you're going to have to play against those guys here in the NFL. So he gets beat. Chuba Hubbard's able to squirm his way to pick up 1 yard. I was like, actually, I'm like pretty good by Chuba Hubbard to actually avoid a tackle in the backfield and actually gain positive yards. So I'll give Chuba Hubbard credit on that one. But Zavala got beat. And then on 3rd and 4, Bryce Young buys himself a little bit of time, kind of slides over to his left on 3rd and 4 on a passing play, looks for Jonathan Mingo over the middle, but as soon as Bryce Young is releasing the football, Mingo just stops his route, stops running.
Yeah.
And so clearly I don't know if he was thinking like, all right, we're just going to settle in this zone here, but Bryce Young thinking, hey, he's on the move, I'm going to hit him. The throw, I think, in my opinion, was right by Bryce Young. It was the right look. It was the right play. Mingo just did not continue his route. So the Panthers go 3-and-out after they were gifted 1st and 5 after an offsides call.
That goes back to what I was saying about the chemistry, and they're just starting to really work together. Like, that will get fixed, I believe. Like, that's not something that I feel like is indicative of how the team will look like in November.
Exactly. So this is where we talk about progress from Series 1 to Series 2. All right, so in the second series, we saw Jonathan Mingo on a crossing route make a catch, run through a defensive back, run through a defender, and pick up extra yardage after that, which gave the offense a first down, which helped extend a drive.
He's looking like a bigger DJ Moore in some ways.
Exactly. Like, that's the physicality that we wanted to see from him in terms of his size and his build, catch and run, not just catch and run in open space, but fight through a tackle, progress. So we also see Chandler Zavala also on some pass rushing situations not give up a whole lot, which was really nice to see as well. So that's progress from game 1 to game 2, but series 1 to series 2. Also some things I really liked. You mentioned it earlier, the mobility that they use with Bryce Young.
Yes.
Let this guy move out of the pocket a little bit. When they started to do that, it's like, oh, it opened up a lot. We even saw him We even saw him roll into his left completing passes. I remember he had one to Adam Thielen on that long drive where Adam Thielen had to make a catch and stepped out of bounds and picked up a first down. So we saw the mobility from Bryce Young, which I was like, this is awesome. This was great to see. I was like, more of this, please. But things that now, all right, we saw them progress in terms of, all right, we saw a nice, long, sustained drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we start to get into situational stuff where the Panthers need to improve upon. So on that very first drive of the game, the Panthers defense gives up a 10-play drive, takes just under 5 minutes. They give up a touchdown.
We'll talk about that soon.
We will. But you as an offense, knowing that your defense was just out there for 10 straight plays and you saw that other team's offense cooking, you can't go 3 and out. You have to give yourself at least a first
when you're starting off as a 1st and 5.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
You can't get 5 yards.
Exactly. Like you're 1st and 5. But this is, again, where we saw the rookies with Hubbard getting pressured up the middle and getting beat.
Zavala.
Hubbard on his run, getting with Chandler Zavala, and then Jonathan Mingo. Again, 2 rookies. So, again, you can't go 3 and out when you have 1st and 5. Okay, because you have to give your defense time to recover as well as time to make adjustments and discuss things over on the sideline. Because if you get in that situation in a regular season game, because the Giants responded by coming back with Tyrod Taylor. So they didn't put Daniel Jones and the starters back out there. In a real regular season game, that offense is going to be right back out there on the field. Before you know it, you might be down 10 or 14-0 if you had like 3 plays offensively and your defense is already getting gassed. Those are things that, again, situationally, you don't have to necessarily go and score, but at least go 5-6 plays. Second thing is, on that long drive, I know you were aided by a roughing the passer call. It happens in the NFL. But you had 1st and 10 at the Giants' 11-yard line.
Yes.
Before you know it, you're 3rd and long at the 32.
Yes.
Like, because you gave up a sack.
Yes.
Like, penalties, the whole deal. It's like, I'm sorry, like, red zone execution. You're 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. You're in striking distance to score. And you had 2nd and 9 at the 10. And you went backwards. Again, you're on the 32. Now, I know they're able to pick up a big chunk play to get, for a shorter field goal. But again, this is situational stuff that we hopefully will see as the season approaches.
In those situations, you just know that this is a team that, like, this will get cleaned up. You're not going to see this week after week. Yeah. That's something that I kind of feel like, Frank Reich is going to take care of that. Hayden Hurst, had the false start. I can't remember if it was that drive or whatever, but
no, it was that drive.
It was that drive. So, you had guys that are your veteran leaders that also were like taking you back. That just means to me that like everybody's just still in preseason form. They're not even close to their regular season form yet. Hopefully they get there soon because there's only one preseason game left. But at least there's something on tape. At least you have the experience of messing up. So you have it in your head now. Okay, let me make sure that I'm progressing. Here's the one thing that is really concerning for me, though, because a lot of the things that we mentioned just now are things that you just figure they're going to fix, right? It doesn't feel like these are going to be fundamental problems. This feels like a fundamental problem right here. Where the hell is Ikem Ekwonu?
Great question.
Because I looked at
great question.
I looked at a play where when Bryce Young got sacked, where Ikem Ekwonu had Kayvon Thibodeau right there on him. Didn't even look his direction when – now, I don't know what the play call was for him. I don't know what his protection call was. I don't know if there was a miscommunication, if he was expecting a chip or whatever. But all I know is Kayvon Thibodeau was able to have a free path straight to Bryce Young, right past Ikem Ekwonu. Like, literally was not touched. And I love Icky. Like I've enjoyed covering him here at when he was at NC State. He's been great for us since he's been down with the Panthers. Been giving us one-on-ones and things like that. He was with us in the first episode. But man, this is not why you were drafted number 6 overall in the 2022 draft.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, is this going to be a pattern, right? Because his pattern last year was he started off slow. He had that bad game against Myles Garrett, and we were like, uh-oh. What's going on? Ended up fixing it and had a really good season. Ended up being the highest graded lineman for the Carolina Panthers last season. But is this going to get fixed? Are you going to be ready for the regular season? That's something I want to know because, bro, like it's not looking good right now. And he's not going to go anywhere because like what are your options? Cam Irving, that's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
But like, come on, like that's going to be a problem for Bryce Young if it keeps up that way. And that's the main thing that I'm looking at. PFF hasn't released their grades as we are recording this right now, but I was very interested to see what the offensive line grades were for this week, especially for Ikem Ekwonu. And as we're recording this, those grades aren't out. But I'll definitely be looking at that, and hopefully we can talk about that for Thursday's episode.
Young man's got to turn around fast because, like you said, do not want a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau just beelining it straight to Bryce Young.
But overall, for the offensive line,
much better.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been, though. Now we know that all the starters didn't play for each side, but like with a front like the Giants have, with Wink Martindale, having all those different types of blitzes he can throw at you, like I felt like this could have looked like the Jets game, or maybe even worse, and it was better. Now, again, both teams probably didn't go as hard as they probably could have, but I did see progress overall. I am worried, though, about our left tackle.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that young man turns things around like you mentioned. He did it last season after that first game against Myles Garrett. Let's turn things around. Let's go to the defensive side of the football. You gonna let Daniel Jones just walk down the field and you like that? Come on.
No Derrick Brown. No Brian Burns. No Justin Houston.
I'm sorry. Does Derrick Brown cover?
No Marquise Haynes.
Does Derrick Brown cover Darren Waller? No.
No. But part of that, though, is the pressure. And it didn't feel like there's a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones.
No, there wasn't.
Right? And so the guys that I just named, what, 4 names right there? Those 4 names are going to be there to put pressure on offensive lines. And it really didn't feel like what's there outside of those guys gave the Giants any pressure. They really didn't give the Jets a lot of pressure. Now, that is concerning a little bit because you would hope that Shai Tuttle, Marquand McCall, and everybody else would be able to, pressure the offensive line a little bit more. But you also understand that when Justin Houston and Brian Burns and Marquise Haynes and Derrick Brown get there, it's going to be a different story. But this also still shows that there's still some depth issues for the Carolina Panthers on that defensive line.
One name that we didn't really see stand out, that we saw stand out in game 1 against the Jets, was Amari Barno. I was hoping to see a little bit more from him in this game. A little bit, because I don't know. I was hoping to see a little bit more because this guy's fighting for a roster spot. He showed out really well against the Jets, but I don't know. He was out there with the starters.
So he made
Barno.
He made a good play, but he got that penalty.
Yeah.
So it like kind of erased it or whatever. So I'm not worried about that. But I did notice he beat his lineman like twice, like really good, like 2 really good reps. So I still think that he showed me enough. Because, we know, this is a long season. You're not going to get those same, like you might have one game where the matchups are perfect and you're going to have the game he had against the Jets. Then the next time you may not have exactly that, but you had a pretty good game. Because, you're not going to have 17 sacks. You're not going to have 1 per game throughout the season if you're Amari Barno.
No.
But I still liked what I saw out of him. I still believe that he's put together a great case to make the team.
Hey, I'm with you on that. That's something we can do maybe after the next preseason game. Who gets cut? Who stays?
Keep Amari Barno because somebody's going to take him and turn him into a superstar if you don't.
In a heartbeat. So that very first drive, the Giants go down the field, 10 plays, 75 yards, 4 minutes, 55 seconds. And it was the Daniel Jones show. No Saquon Barkley. I will say there were a couple really nice plays that I saw. Von Bell, the big pass breakup against Darren Waller, just laid the boom on. I was like, that was
excited
very nice
for
to
Von
see.
Bell.
And then Jeremy Chin up around the line of scrimmage with a tackle for a loss. It's like, that's the Jeremy Chin that I think we all want to see. That guy that's up in around the box, up around the line of scrimmage, making plays in the backfield or somewhere near the line of scrimmage. That's the Jeremy Chin that we want to see. So, like, those are a couple things that definitely stood out to me in a positive way. But I will say this. I know it was like very base and all that kind of stuff. I know the guys that you mentioned, Burns, Brown, Haynes, Houston weren't there getting pressure up front. But Shaq Thompson in coverage for me felt like a liability. It really did.
Yeah.
Frankie Louvu for me, I think, is better, and that was nice to see on the second drive. Frankie Louvu had a nice blitz and got pressure and deflected the ball by Tyrod Taylor, which forced a 3-and-out. But yeah, Shaq Thompson in coverage felt like a liability a bit to me.
It always feels like he's hit or miss in coverage. And, I think he's better as a, especially he's better if you put him in a zone where he can kind of sit back and he can kind of operate that way.
Yeah.
And that's where he's kind of picked up, like, times when he does get his interceptions or PBUs, he's better that way. But if he is like tailing a tight end or a running back or whatever, advantage tight end running back, what I'm saying? Like, it's just, and I don't think that is the smart way to use Shaq Thompson. But if he's out there, I guess, and you have to use him that way, then I guess you have to. You just hope that you can get enough pressure to where the ball doesn't get to that particular person.
Because we saw, I know, a man coverage Shaq Thompson against Darren Waller. Darren Waller is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He's good, but guess what? I'm sorry, you're going to play Kyle Pitts a couple times this year, right?
Yeah.
You
are.
You have to be able to cover these guys. Now, I know that they're keeping things super base, so I don't know how specifically they try to game plan for this game, but depending on who they're playing and what they want to do defensively, you might see situations where Shaq Thompson and, like third and long situations might have to come off the field, and that's where you're sliding Jeremy Chin up to play man coverage either against a running back or against a tight end, because he has the size to do that and the speed to do that. So, again, all things that we have to take with a grain of salt because it is preseason game number 2. But this is all we have to go off of. That's it. This is all we have to go off of. The game against the Jets, the game against the Giants. That's it. That's all we have right now as our barometer to measure these things.
I will say this. I'll give a few guys some credit. Last game, Deion Jones was the lowest graded player on defense.
Yeah.
I thought he had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
I think that second touchdown that the Giants scored with Tyrod Taylor was in, which, hold on, by the way, I wish Tyrod Taylor was backing up Bryce Young because, I don't know, he still just looks good to me.
Yeah.
And it would be a decent starter if he needed to come in for a game or two. All right, let me get off of that. But I felt like Deion Jones had a good little rush to the quarterback. Just got there literally just a second later, and if he would have been there a second earlier, maybe that pass doesn't get off and that touchdown doesn't happen. But he showed he has some really good juice. Jamie Robinson, I think, stepped up a little bit. He had that really bad missed tackle against the Jets that led to a touchdown. I felt like I saw times where he was a little bit more of a sure tackler. And these are the things that we talked about that I wanted to see happen, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, it's preseason, so I didn't really care or get upset when certain touchdowns were scored, or I'm not upset about the Daniel Jones drive, in the first drive of the game. Again, the full defensive staff wasn't there. They're not running their real stuff. And also, this offense under their head coach has been together already. They're going into their second year. So these guys have a feel. They know what they're doing with each other. They've done this through last year's preseason and then the regular season last year and this whole offseason. This is technically just the second time that this defense has been together under Ejiro Evero, and the starting defense only played one series last week against the Jets. Mm-hmm. So I'm not that worried right now about any of that. Going down, Zach Wilson took him down the field, Daniel Jones took them down the field. I'm not worried about that. I feel like I did see some improvements when it came down to tackling. I did feel like I saw some improvements towards the end of the game as they're trying to lock things up a little bit. And there was that one drive where, it looked like Tyrod Taylor was starting to get his groove, and then they had the sack and forced a punt. And I kind of feel like the depth is going to be there in the secondary. The depth is going to be there with linebackers. I am worried about the guys up front a little bit.
Yeah.
If there are injuries, the starters I'm fine with. If there are injuries, who's going to back up Marcon McCall and Shy Tuttle and Derek Brown, and who's going to be there and be consistent in that? That's what I think I'll be looking for throughout the season.
Well, every team probably always has a question of depth.
Yeah.
Every team's got to go through it. But you know what?
But it's funny
Every
we were
team
talking
has to
about
fight
depth of
through that.
linebacker, and now I'm not worried
Yeah.
about that. Now I'm worried about depth elsewhere that I thought there was depth.
Yeah, it's a really good point. There's always going to be questions about that. But you know what? It's just a preseason game. When September hits, 0-0 record, which is all that matters. As long as we see progress, and I think, Chris, we did see progress from game 1 to game 2. Still a ton to work on, but progress is a good thing. We will be back. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to ask you, what grade would you give the Panthers? We could just end it off like this. What grade would you give them based on what you saw from the Jets game to this game?
C+.
I was going to say B-.
Okay, so right there.
And I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because that still shows that there's still room for growth.
Yeah.
If we are at an A+ point right now, I don't know if we have enough to talk about.
No, I'd be concerned like, oh, this team's already peaked.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different. So, all right, make sure you subscribe, smash the subscribe button, hit the likes, leave comments. Chris and I will interact with you in the comment section here on YouTube.
I do not look like Plies. Okay?
I saw that. That was funny. It was like, Chris does
That's
not look
hilarious.
like Bly. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure, again, you follow us. Leave us a nice 5-star review. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, also subscribe to us. There's going to be links below in the description, so make sure that you subscribe to us. So if you can't watch on YouTube, you still have it in your favorite podcast platform. That's Chris. I'm Dennis. We're going to have another episode for you on Thursday before the final preseason game. Chris and I will be back with another episode of Panthers Playbook. See you later.